Financial crisis at state-owned entities continues to be a big concern on an already loaded public purse. Finance Minister Tito Mboweni says this situation is likely to deteriorate even further during his supplementary budget yesterday. Andile Nomlala, president of the Black Management Forum, joins us to look at some of the key points from the minister. Andile, very good morning to you. I guess you weren't surprised when you heard what he had to say about SOEs.
Good morning, Jane, and thanks for having me. Look, we as the BMF, we really were not surprised with some of the assertions that the minister has made. Actually, I think the whole budget didn't say much, and I'm sure maybe the detail will come in the midterm budget that they will present in October. But there's one or two things, Jane, that I want to overemphasize on. I think the issue of continuing with the austerity measures during the recession is a challenge. Of course, it's necessary that government must do the reforms to make sure that there's efficiency, there's agility, there's cost-effective measures, and there's value for money for government projects. But I think the focus should be in making sure that there's budget, there's funds that are available to put up the infrastructure projects. I attended on Tuesday or Wednesday, I attended the symposium of the president, where there were ambitious plans to put about 4 trillion rands of infrastructure projects, and government is not committing much into them. And the call we are making as the BMF, and we have made very early on in the COVID-19 era, is that maybe we won't talk about the printing of the money this time around, but the treasurer needs to go to the Reserve Bank and borrow at least about 500 billion rands that the Reserve Bank has in its reserves. And if it doesn't, it can print more money to add to that 500 billion. And that 500 billion rands must be focused and directed exclusively to infrastructure projects. Those infrastructure projects would be the ones that would stimulate the economic activity in this country. The new economy that the president is talking about needs to come out of that investment that we need to do to make sure that the catastrophe of COVID-19 doesn't deepen as much as it will post this era. It's important that, and I agree with Tito, that they must look at the government expenditure and the efficiencies there. And the money that we're borrowing now, even in the international markets, is for consumption expenditure, the PPEs, and which is necessary, by the way, and the whole preparation for COVID catastrophe in terms of hospital and the personnel is correct. But we need this time around to make sure that we have enough money to stimulate investment. Private sector is working very close with government, but the private sector, I can tell you, Brian and Andrew Cantor, Future Growth, is not going to put a cent before the government can make commitments and before they can see that these projects are viable. I was speaking to Sputla on Tuesday that they have done a sterling job to prepare those projects, to make sure that these projects are done properly so that the private sector investment can come in. But government has to seed those investments. Government has to take equity stakes in those transactions. Government has to do a private partnership, but they must put also their skin in the game. And now, if you're talking 100 billion in the infrastructure fund for 10 years, then you are not talking. And then the private sector doesn't see you as a serious person.
Skin in the game, but not when it comes to SOEs.
Look, it's a similar thing, Jane, with the SOEs. The private sector is interested. I can tell you we have had discussions with a couple of the big financial institutions in the country. They are interested, but they want a modeling that would suit them to participate in those transactions, and they would participate. And of course, we understand that there's limited resources in the government space. Private sector needs to come into the party, but the seriousness of government to reform and to actually put the proper models that could be attract blended finance into those state-owned institutions are still far-fetched. Between me and you, the mess that the so-called business rescue of SAA did, it doesn't, there's no Sangam that is going to put money there. I can tell you that. There is no private sector institution that would automatically just come in and put money there. Government needs to make sure that the reforms are obviously launched and are obviously canvassed within the private sector. The private sector have
and
always...
Ndile, as you were talking, this came to my attention that the DPE has offered final severance packages to SAA employees. So it seems that they have made a decision as far as that is concerned, not that it's going to help it in any way. Tell us a little bit about the public wage bill and the fact that that was hardly touched at all. What does that suggest?
Look, I saw the duck and diving that the minister was making yesterday on the issue of the public wage bill. Let me tell you, as BMF, we don't believe in the approach of curtailing the public wage bill. One of the reasons is that the very same wages that come from the public sector are the ones that are used to stimulate the economy via the consumption spending of the so-called black middle class that sits in those public sector institutions. What needs to happen with the public sector is that you need to train and develop and make sure that the efficiencies and the skill set that you already have is able to deliver and produce the same services and goods that the public sector is supposed to do efficiently, cost effectively. Now, if you curtail and you say we must dismiss 30% of the public sector people without making sure and checking what would that do to productivity that is already in question of the public sector, then all you are doing, you are sending millions of black people, millions and millions of black people into poverty, because each public sector employee supports a minimum of 10 household members in their families. Now you cut them out of their jobs when the economy has already curtailed millions of jobs that are coming. We are looking at 50% unemployment rate post-COVID, and you want to cut the jobs of the very little blacks that they have. Now, government can't, and I can tell you unions won't accept that, and as BMF would be on the same side as unions, who won't accept that. There is no model, and there is no research, and there is no a business case that has been put forward that curtailing private sector would guarantee the efficiencies in terms of improving the services that the public sector provides. Okay. So we don't support that, Jane.
All right, Andile and Omlala, good to talk to you.